And hello, everybody. How are you doing today on a Friday evening? It's finally the weekend. I hope you're all excited. Welcome again to another fantastic episode of 5 Rounds. As we can see, we've got 6 people today, as we always have 5. We had to spice this up a little bit, so we had an add-on because of the topic that we're having. A wonderful topic. As you can see, myself, or Vita, as I can say, what it do, what it does. And we've got a special guy that we added because of this topic, Owen Ryan, all the way from Kildare. And we know the big man, Patrick, right there. We got you. We got Fred. How you doing down there?
Was good, guys.
All good, all good. And of course, Pastor, the one and only. How's it going? Oh, jeez.
Can you hear us, MP?
He's got a little bit of a technical problem there. And finally, Mr. Wantali, all the way from out there, London.
From somewhere.
From somewhere. You don't want to
nice
disclose.
merch when I.
But as you can see, we're all rocking our merch, as we always say. Pop onto our shop, 80. We have the links on our bios. Keep on getting the merch. And we want to say
get on one there.
You have to. And we want to say thank you to all those people that have been purchasing the merch and all the winners that won the vouchers last week on our show. Appreciate the people that are going on and buying this merch. Keep up the good work. Appreciate it. It's all because of you. That's why we have this merch and that's why we have this podcast. And most importantly, subscribe, like, and share to a friend so they can also view these wonderful videos. Now,
nice.
We go out to this topic that is very, 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 it's kind of biased, maybe because it's going to be kind of 5-1.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we were only talking MP before you joined in. It's actually going to turn into the roast of the Mzungu. I think this is
anyone that doesn't know that doesn't know the word Mzungu means white person in Nyanja and Chichewa. That's Malawian language and Zambian language as well.
Swahili.
Swahili as well. Yeah.
And Owen knows a few of these our language because he's visited a couple places in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Now look, the topic today, what we're talking about, as you can see in the heading, it's Africa on TV versus Africa in reality. Now, when you see the topic itself, it pretty much explains what it is talking about. What it is all about is we're going to tackle and go into the understanding what every person all over the world who's never visited Africa, who only sees Africa on television, who only sees Africa on internet, Google, or whatsoever, and trying to explain and paint the picture of you people to understand what is Africa in reality. Is it what you see on the television? Is it what you see on Google? Or is it what you've heard someone has been told that, oh yeah, Africa does this? Is it that, And we are going to go deep into different kind of aspects, experiences, obviously, from myself, all the other guys who are all from Africa, and of course, experiences from Owen, who is a European, a person from Ireland, but who's been in Africa.
Owen is Malawian as well, if anyone didn't know.
Yeah, if you can't tell, but he's Malawian. Now, as we go deep into this topic, the first question that I would like to go into understanding to basically kick off the whole conversation. And this question obviously is going to go to you, Owen, because with HQ, it's as straightforward as how are Africans portrayed on TV compared to reality, and why? In your terms, how do you think Africans are portrayed on the television, on the internet, on social media, on whatsoever, compared to what is in reality from your experience that you've been in Africa? And why do you think is this?
Yeah. First of all, thanks very much for having me.
Welcome.
I seen the topic and I told MP, get me in here. This is my this is my space. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues with how Africa is perceived, I suppose, on the television to start. The first thing, which I'm very passionate about telling people, is Africa is a continent. You know, it's not a country. There's 54 countries in Africa, you know. Let's start there. Really important.
That's true, though. That's true.
That's true. That's true.
I feel like that's the first thing that kind of just misses people, you know. I mean, we're talking about Africa. You know, you kind of forget that we're not talking about Northern Africa. Like this, we can talk about Malawi and Zambia and Zimbabwe and like all these poor countries, but we can also talk about Algeria and Egypt. You know, we can talk about all them. But see, the problem with TV is, and the reason I'm interested in you know, development and all this kind of stuff is it's along the lines of, you know, growing up in Ireland. The depiction of Africa has always been, you know, the child on the television with the flies on their face getting a food parcel, you know, poor Africa, we need to send them money, we need to send them clothes, we need to help them. And, you know, my recent stint in Zambia, where I was living in a place in central province called Makushi, which is very, very rural. I wanted to go there, not to, in quotes again, save Africa. I wanted to go and experience, you know, Africa for what it is. Actually see, talk to people, you know, see, is this depiction that's on the television that everyone's kind of dying and starving and waiting for the white person to come with their handouts? Is that the reality, or, you know, what's going on? And, you know, it couldn't be further from the reality when I got there. You know, you realize that it's just human beings. They're in different circumstances. Yeah, okay, they haven't got, you know, it's not the same as living in Ireland. There's not the same sort of houses. There's not the same road infrastructure, whatever it may be. But the whole narrative that goes with poverty and charity appeals does not fully depict Africa in its fullest. If anything, I'm not arguing that there's not poverty in the continent. Like, we're not arguing that. There is, you know, people that are suffering, but when that's the main storyline every single time, then people just box Africa off into this place, you know, which is definitely an uncomfortable experience, I'm sure, for you guys who, you know, are immigrants, or your parents are immigrants who have come to Ireland or come to the UK, like Wantali, and, you know, then you have to deal with this stuff. You know, people are looking and kind of going, right, these African guys, what are they doing in our country? How did they get here? You know, are they trying to take from us? You know, so it kind of, it really distorts the picture for a person that doesn't truly understand, or they just don't have the time to sit down and kind of look in between and go, why is there now African people in Ireland? Or, you know, why is poverty, you know, why are these charities over in Africa in the first place? If you're telling me that, you know, it's not all like that, you know, it distorts the whole picture. But like, I'm interested as well to hear from your guys' perspective. Like, how do you feel about Africa being depicted only through charity appeals? You know,
Well,
how has that affected your experience coming?
You know, look.
Do you want me to take that, or Vita?
Patrick, take that.
Go for it, Patrick.
Yeah, for myself, I was involved in few charities. I'm not going to name them, obviously, for reasons, but I was involved in few charities, and I did the whole charity thing where I used to go door to door. That was like for about 5 years, and to be honest with you,
what was the job description? What was the job name?
Basically a fundraiser. That's what you're doing. You're fundraising, and you're raising funds, obviously, for different campaigns. They're doing different campaigns they're doing in Africa, or different sort of things they're trying to build and stuff. What I noted for myself, what I've just what I've heard from you is, if I went to somebody's doorstep, right, and
we lost Patrick.
So that's what happens when you go to somebody's doorstep. You just get kicked off.
When you start talking about
we lost Patrick there.
That's a bit of inconvenience. But look, he's going to come back to us, and he's going to pick up from where he left. Basically, I know Patrick. I'll just add on to what he was going to go into, because we've done the work together. We've worked in so many different companies together for the 5 years. He's talking about.
Sorry about
We've
that.
worked
The
in so
internet
many
just went
companies
off.
with him. There he is, and he's back. I was gonna take it on because I know you were gonna explain some part that I wouldn't, because we've worked in certain different companies doing that same kind of job. But I'm gonna let you continue anyway where you left off, Patrick.
Yeah, sorry about that. My internet just went off. I don't know why that happened. Sorry about that. So basically, what I was trying to say is, when I was doing this job and I go to somebody's door, and what I noticed is, when I used to have that fresh mentality of where I'm coming from. Look, I cannot take away from the fact that there's suffering in Africa. Look, there is suffering in Africa, and it's very painful at the point where it's also sad for myself, where I ignored it. I got so used to it that, oh, people are struggling. It was a normal thing. I would pass somebody in the street and just look at them and say, oh, it's part of life here. And it's until I left out, I was like, oh my God, people are really struggling, isn't it? How was I managing to just drive past somebody, it's raining, and they're in the street with kids? But what I'm trying to say is, when I went to people's doors, and when I go to somebody's door, and if I painted Africa from my view, if I just painted saying, oh, they always ask you, where are you from, Patrick? And I say, oh, this is where I'm from. I learned my English from a high school, blah, blah, blah. They would have a face saying, are you sure the charity, they would always ask this, are you sure the charity didn't bring you here or help you at all? So to that knowledge, they think that, oh, everybody who's also maybe in the charity is actually just volunteering on behalf of the charity, and they helped him out with the school. So they ask you, like, oh, so what is so and so this charity doing for you in Africa? Are they helping you with the education? Because they told me 5 years ago that they were building a school. Is that the part of the school in that? So it also goes to the fact that I'm not trying to say that people are not educated in this. I'm trying to say that I think people, we rely so much on TV, and we rely so much what we see on TV. Everything we see on TV is right. I think we don't take the time, as you say, to go and research and say, you know what, let me go find out this myself. So every time I go there and paint that picture, no success. Never succeeded. I thought I would go with the honesty, saying I went to high school, blah, 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 blah. But if I go there with one of those pictures, and my paint will be, oh, people are struggling. From my experience, I struggle. Like we were struggling out there. We are struggling out there, and so is there to save us. You are saving us. You are the last hope. And TV right there, whatever you see on TV, it's multiplied by 20. That's when you used to see right away. They would even give you everything. Here you go, do everything. So that's what I was about to say. That I have noticed that, yes, TV, I think, is where people get the information from. And right now, as soon as you just search Africa, I was doing a few research for other countries. As soon as you just write Africa, there is no good picture or pretty picture. It's just a picture of a bad area. They're just focusing on bad areas. So that's what I see. I think that's what TV has spread, and that's what people have learned from. That's all I can say.
I wanted to add on to that, actually, what Patrick just said. I mean, guys in the comments, or the guys that are watching, if you Google life in Africa, right, compared to life in Europe or life in America, what you see with life in Africa, probably the first picture you see is some mud hut or some village or some poor people, whatever it is. It obviously, back then, it used to say, the first few words you could see on the top were poor, hunger, and all these things. These things have been changed, by the way, you know, but that's what used to be there. When you Google life in Africa, that's what was there. And then when you Google life in America, equality, the flag, nothing about genocide, you know, nothing about terrorism, just all these equality, the flag, patriotism, and all these things. You know what I mean? You know, and that is how we're portrayed. The question there is, how are we portrayed? That is how we're portrayed. Now, going back to what Owen was talking about, you know, in terms of him looking up Africa and then actually going to see what Africa is portrayed as, you know. Unfortunately, this is the issue. This is the issue we have at the minute. How is it portrayed? It's only portrayed using the media, you know, using whatever it is, the information that's there, that's being controlled by, I don't know, a certain group of people that do not really understand this you know, this continent, you know, and the countries in it, you know. The other question was why? Why is it portrayed that way? You know, I think it could go down to the pecking order. to whatever it is that has been built as the pecking order. You know, I don't think Africans or Africa are regarded as something of value in a sense as we are at this table, which is called the, I guess, the high table, you know. Looking at it in a political sense, you know, there's a saying that, you know, politics or business is run by people at the table, and they'll keep money at that table and never let it trickle down to the bottom class and whoever it is. They will always just exchange hands. Think of it that way. So think of it as those countries that back in history colonized Africa, or even set up their economy before Africa could even realize what an economy was, you know, because we're playing catch up. So why is it set up that way? Africa's got raw materials. Africa's got everything that the world needs, but we are still not invited to this table. You know, we're still below. So this is why we're being kept where they think we belong, where people think we belong, which is not right. That's what I think.
Yeah, just to add in to what Paul is saying, you know, as from what, like, when you go to Google and you try to search Africa, even when you see advertisement on TVs and stuff, they will never advertise Africa as a happy family sitting over there, you know, in a nice house. We have all, you know, being from a person who's actually growing up in Africa, as in compared to here, to buy a land here is so much expensive than to buy land in Africa.
Yeah.
How many acres do we actually own back home? Lots of people. But people, when you come here, people actually think you're poor. So the image, for what I think is the image is actually put up there for social media, whatever, is actually planned. You know what I mean? Once they start showing how great Africa is doing, everybody's going to run there. Because, you know what I mean? Like one time he said, all these raw materials, all this stuff is are from Africa. Once people start opening their mind, opening their eyes that, okay, all these good things is coming from Africa. And people start waking up. They don't want people to wake up. So even when you look at like this charity shop that you see, the first picture they'll put, like what Ian said, is a baby walking probably naked or shorts, and then flies there. Like, dude, I was in Africa, but I never saw a baby as this much as they are showing it on TV. Please give €1 to save a soul. Who would survive off €1? You know, it's this thing is actually planned. It's also a business for them. You know what I mean? So it's also a business to them. So whatever they're portraying there is only for the benefit of whatever companies they. I mean, there are other companies out there who actually are helping Africa, are helping kids build stuff. But most of that money, where is it going? That's where the questions are. So whatever picture they're putting out there is for a reason. So
what you say, your reason. So if we come to the why, you're saying the reason they're doing that is they portray that for selling purposes, to get that funding, to get that assistance, right? That's the reason why. By the way, we're gonna say this because we had this conversation. It's Owen.
It's Owen, not Eon.
Why you spell it Owen, though?
No, that's the Irish way of spelling Owen.
That's the Irish pronunciation of it.
I'm like
Eon. Did you say Eon? Sorry about that, guys. I had to get the internet cable. Looks like my Wi-Fi is not working today.
Fred, it's like the names. Have you not seen some Irish names like Neve, Siobhan, and all them? They're spelled weird. Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
okay, just to finish up. So what I'm saying is, whatever is seen on TV is not exactly right. Yes, there's some parts that are poor, and there are other people out there who are living life as well. But why are they still focusing on the poor side? I mean, there's so much happening in America than it is happening in Africa. You know what I mean? More people are probably dying in America than are dying in Malawi. You know what I mean? All the gangster, but you never see America show up people, people dying in the streets. No, they always show good stuff. Look at America. You never, Germany. How many people know that Germany was flooding out there? Only a few people, but there's so many people dying because of floods there. But they'll never put it on social media or TV.
And if you had seen, there's an interview of a woman. I don't know if you guys seen it. There was a woman they were interviewing in Germany. They were asking about the floods, and she's talking about. She's like, we can't believe it. The floods killing so many people in Germany. Something like this shouldn't be happening in Germany. Something like this should be happening in poor countries like in Africa. You know what I mean? So, Plants can only kill poor people.
Oh yeah. I remember her.
I
She said
saw
that
that
people die like this only in poor countries. So she said that.
In Africa, yeah.
No, she basically
Africa,
said
not in Germany.
natural disasters only happen in Africa. That's what her
Yeah.
mind is thinking. You know what I mean? So an
So-
earthquake only happens in
Yeah.
Africa.
Why did they only happen in Africa?
That is a good question.
I know.
No, but listen.
I think with this conversation, you would start off blaming the journalists, the politicians, celebrities. How they
Yes.
portray Africa
Yes.
is what their followers, put out there to say, oh, so and so Angelina Jolie is going to help, the African kids, or Madonna is going to adopt a kid in Malawi and stuff like that. So, which is if
That
the
is so
celebrity is going there,
nice.
it's considered that everyone's so poor that she's going to
And we've lost him.
save the whole of the country by just adopting one child, and then she's saving all that.
What?
Oh, sorry
what
about that. My network is so down today.
We can see that.
What's that?
No, we can see that.
Yes,
Do you know?
I'm so sorry, but
MP, in a strange way, we're in the same area. Yeah, we're both in Clareholm.
we're in the same area.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
Okay.
Mpaso is streaming live from Malawi today. That's
Yeah.
why he's
Internet as usual, yeah.
So the internet,
Okay.
so the internet in Africa is a bit shit. But I was just gonna answer just one line to say why Africa's portrayed that way. I think on a general kind of conversation, we might just put it on to colonization. Colonization came through, and it really kind of just damaged the image of Africa. We don't have an identity at the moment, and with development, it's more considered like Africa is still like an infant in development, whereby it can really stand out and start having the same discussion at the same table with the European Union and all the G8 and all that stuff. So it's a very tough.
Before you go so far, you caught me on something. Before you go so far, you caught me somewhere about identity. What do you mean Africa doesn't have an identity?
That's my question too.
So here's the story, right? When colonization came true, they pretty much wiped out your whole history in it, right? So if you do wipe out a whole history in a country, you're like more like taking your attitude to like, oh, I'm gonna base my character into like European kind of thing. I'm gonna base my character in this kind of way. Whereby if you're not considered rich in a way and stuff like that, right? We're not even given that opportunity to speak on anything.
All right.
So if you're poor, you're not considered to be anywhere. So Africa is considered poor in that identity, where we're not really considered to be on a higher rank, so we can't be given a conversation in any way possible.
So we've got an identity then. That's what you're saying.
That identity is considered poor.
Yes.
No.
You said we don't have identity. Now you said we do.
One daddy. I have a question for this guy. MP. I just listened to you there. You're saying they came and wiped out our history, but I know that I'm Ngoni. And I know what Ngonis have to do. I know what my tradition as Ngoni is. So how did they wipe my tradition?
You don't practice it anymore.
You don't know everything.
No, but once again, growing up,
you don't practice any of that. You're never in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you said they wiped the history. You said they wiped it.
Oh wow.
Here's a story.
No, hold on,
If you go back,
hold on a second before you go into your story, right? Because you know where that's going.
Yeah.
Before we go into a tangent, let me just come back to this part where we were talking about identity and you were talking about taking away history. I think Africa did not lose its identity. I think its identity was sort of muffled.
Stolen?
No. Well, okay, you can say stolen if you want, but I think what they did with Africa is it was sort of silenced. It was like they said, "Oh, you can be African, but in Africa, you're not going to be on TV, you're not going to be anywhere. People will perceive you as ignorant and all those things." And with in life, right? If you look at it this way, in life, when we had 9/11 in America, the narrative was, oh, every Muslim is a trterrorist, something like that. Every Nigerian is a scammer. You look at the impact of this sort of perception, and this was carefully calculated to say, hey, these guys have all the raw materials, they have everything, but we need to make this place look like it's inhospitable. The people there are hard to live with, all right? they're tough as nails, they're scary, or
they're savages.
They're savages, they live in trees. This is what, and if people think that, they're like, I'm not going there. I'm not getting in business with people like that. So this one person just continues this one-way channel. Nobody wants to deal with you. Only I want to deal with you. But I'm going to deal with you at 10 cents per whatever,
Yeah,
that's
true.
Yeah, so that's what I think.
Can I just add a point here,
Yeah,
in
go
here as
ahead.
well? And
Go ahead.
it's going back to what Patrick said, because I think this will very much pull us right back to what we're trying to address in the question.
Correct.
Patrick said when he knocks at the door and he's trying to get money out of people, all they want to hear is the poor narrative, right? They want to hear about poor Africa, because nobody wants to support something unless they're helping somebody that's down. That's the whole purpose of charity. Yeah. So my question to you guys is, if we're saying that the reason that Africa is depicted as poor is because we need to raise money to help Africa, my question to you guys is, should there be NGOs, should there be charities in Africa in the first place?
No.
Well,
yes.
Because I think that's the core.
Yes and a no.
Because
yes
there's a
and
line.
if there was no charities in Africa, if there was no NGOs, there would be no depiction in the media of Africa on the television, which means then Africa would then have the scope to create whatever identity it wants. And I think that's what Mpasso was trying to get at. It's not that your identity was stolen, it's that you don't get to choose what your identity is on this side of the world. It's being chosen for you by the white people.
No, that makes sense.
Thank you very much for clarifying that on.
And just to add in there, so people in the comments, if you guys don't know, Africa is not poor. It's just our mentality is poor. No, hold on.
We're going to get to that.
Okay, all right. I'll let you go.
Can I also say? Can I say something before? Just before we move on to another question, I also wanted to just say there, Owen, that unfortunately, right, and this is just from my point of view. Unfortunately, Owen, I wouldn't really chase all the NGOs away. Some of them are actually doing fantastic work, and some of them are actually helping. There's certain people out there who need that help. Like if you see countries like South Sudan, that's required as one of the most poorest countries. There's places where people can just help themselves. Like when there's an outbreak of this, like coronavirus, people need vaccines. Unfortunately, the countries, sometimes places need these vaccines to get support. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So look, I'm not always with NGOs, but I sometimes say, you know what, we can't really put them out, because at the end, sometimes the support is required.
Question back to you, Patrick, because it's a very important point. I don't disagree with an NGO or a charity being in a country for humanitarian assistance. I mean, a disaster like South Sudan, whether it's drought, whether it's famine, whether it's, just corruption, whatever it is, whatever it requires an immediate response, like COVID as well, like Ebola, that's required, and you need people on the ground immediately, right? And it would be the same thing if Ireland got into struggle. I would expect the international community to come and help, right? My question is, if an NGO is in a country in Africa, let's take Malawi for an example, considering we have an audience of Malawans. If there's NGOs there, so like for example, you have all these NGOs and charities going, and if they're building roads and they're building schools and they're doing all their own things or whatever, that's the responsibility of your government. So like when people ask, or people build a narrative, say Africa is corrupt and the governments are corrupt and all these different things that go around, at the very core of it is, if you remove the NGOs, and by all means, I don't mean remove everybody, but if for example, you removed all of them, it would point the finger directly to your own governments to be accountable.
I think that's what's needed.
That's where I'd come from in terms of like wondering, because there's the whole idea of NGOs, and they're there to work themselves out of a job. They're only supposed to be in a country for so long until you're able to help yourselves and blah blah blah.
Not 100 years.
Not 100 years.
Yeah, but that's the thing as well. Just to add in, as in, why are they there 10 plus years? I mean, if you're there to help, why don't you help people instead of just giving them food? You eat it, tomorrow you want more. As in, teach them how to make food. Teach them the ability to take care of themselves. And I mean, this is where I'm getting confused, because you build schools, but what are you teaching them in schools? Are you teaching them how to earn money? Or are you just teaching them how to work in jobs that there is no jobs there is not a lot of jobs in Africa in the first place?
It's also not good for the mentality. And again, it's back to what MP was saying about identity. if all you have is white people coming over in NGOs, and the mentality for people there, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, they're just looking and going, okay, we'll wait for the white person to come and bring whatever it is, you know, and that's the issue. Dead Aid by Demi. Yeah, I agree. Dembisa Moyo, Dead Aid. I just see that popping up on the screen there. That is a great book. She talks about Zambia, and then she creates a lot of a fictional country in Africa to explain why NGOs shouldn't be there. I'm just looking at that coming up. Yeah, just
I'll actually agree with you, because the more they come there, people start getting used to being given stuff, you know what I mean? And that mentality, in order to remove that mentality, to take a lot of time for people to say like, okay, now I can do something for myself. But if you keep on giving, you basically, they'll be just like, I know, I don't need to work. The NGOs will come to give us free money, free food, you know what I mean? So I actually agree with you.
Well, true story. All right. So Ovi hit us up with a second question. Yeah.
2 seconds.
Comments
just gonna read the comments and then Ovi back to you. Right? So obviously, as Owen said, so Kita K says, look, Dead Aid by Dambisa Moyo is a must-read about NGOs. Waste of time and money. It actually doesn't help governments or the people. She goes on to say this, right? It instead makes governments corrupt because of that and various other things. Okay, and various other.
I remember that though. I remember that. If you look at slave trade, you can actually see the chiefs were selling their own people to the white people and all the Europeans and stuff like that. They were just given a certain amount of goods and guns and everything, and they're selling their own people. So it's the same kind of discussion in there.
Now, big companies
just in a more advanced kind of clean way of doing things.
Big companies will send money. To send money to the president. The president will probably take like a small portion, like, I'll build a road somewhere, just one road, and the rest of the money disappears.
This is a very interesting conversation. Vita, hit us up with the second question.
This is a very, very, very interesting conversation, and I know we could sit here and talk a lot about it. And look, for you guys who are watching, who in the comments, fire up any comment, fire up what you think about this conversation. Whether you have seen it on television, what's your perspective about Africa, and if you've been there, tell us your experience, tell us what you think. And of course, don't forget to smash a like, subscribe, and of course, share. We're going to move on to the next question. And this next question, I want you, one Tali probably, to take it first, right? And this question is basically, does this portrayal, right, affect how we Africans are viewed? So you, me, Wantali, do you think it affects how people look at us here if you're in Europe? In what way? And if you can explain maybe one simple scenario that you've been through that you think people viewed you in that kind of way because of the portraying they see on the television.
Okay, yeah. So the television, the way people see us, or the way people know us to be, or think we should be on television, it does affect how we are viewed and how we are treated. I'll break this down, right? So I've served in the British Army Forces, right? And I got the opportunity to meet different people from different parts of the world, from Nepal to Ghana to Nigeria to Pakistan to India. We all came in for the same purpose, to serve the Queen and country, right? So for this thing, there was, straight away you saw the diversity in cultures and all that stuff. Obviously, the army is very welcoming and all that. But for me, I always ask this question, because all my brothers from Africa, we in the military uniform that is predominantly designed for the white British male, for me anyway, it did not look good on a black person. And I always said to my white counterparts, say, why do black people look bad in this uniform? Why do Africans look, bad? Because you'd find that most of us Africans were given big sizes, because obviously Africans, we have, bigger butts, I guess, or just a bigger frame. So what would happen is we'd have bigger sizes. We'd have like saggy uniform. You know, we'll be looking like that African kid that needs to keep this cloth for 10 years because they can't afford it.
They don't want to buy you new clothes.
They don't want to buy you new clothes because
I don't think you spent enough time in the gym, Wantali. I think that's why.
He's trying to make excuses for his own issues.
Nah, this was too consistent. Like I'd have they gave me a big helmet. You know what I mean? And this thing used to tilt forward, and I remember myself in like a sort of like a battlefield situation, like obviously training, and I'm running. And this helmet just goes in front of my eyes, and they're like, "What can you see?" So yeah,
who turned off the lights?
Yeah, so that was one of the things. But then, on a more serious note, the other things were, I think we were expected to work a little bit harder, to prove that we are part of this society. We were also perceived as we are not socially intelligent. We are not intellectually intelligent until we got in a classroom. That's when they'll know, oh wow, that guy's smart. But before that, we were perceived as very slow, backward, socially inactive and stuff like that. But
can I ask something?
Doesn't have a good accent.
One time, I can ask you something. You've just highlighted something. I just want to be interested to ask. When you're in the army, right? I just want to ask, since you say that they didn't think, okay, or maybe the Africans are not all that smart or anything, did they pick for you where to go? You know how you have to be, somebody ends up being a mechanic, you end up being this. Did they say, oh, you're going to become a cook, or do you have to pick that yourself? How do you end up being the vision?
Well, now that we're going in that tangent, you're given a choice. You have a choice. It's like any job. There's a vacancy. Even in the army, they will give you the vacancies. These are the jobs available. We think your skills apply to these jobs, but it's your choice to pick. You always have a choice to pick what you want to do in the army. So no one just gets this myth about, black people get sent to the front line. That's nonsense. It's you get the opportunity to go wherever you want. To do what you want to do. Okay. Obviously,
just wanted to understand it.
Obviously, there are limitations to that. For example, you can't put an African person of African heritage in an intelligence division because they simply do not have the capabilities to do that job. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's quite sensitive because seeing as you're a person who's coming into this tradition, can you go to that role? Of course you can later on, but at the beginning, they'll limit you to stuff like that. Very critical roles. They'll limit you.
Okay.
All right. So that was from one time. That's a part of it. That's how you feel it affects how you're viewed. Just because you're from Africa and that's how you were viewed, and when you're in the military, you understand, you're like, well, it's because I'm African, probably that's where they think of this, because that's how they thought you are. Before, I'm probably going to throw the same question. I'm going to throw the same question to you. Oh, and then I'm going to throw it to one person here or the group as well to talk about how they affect. But I want you to answer this because I want also you to, for us and the viewers, to understand it as you would see it, right on. So if you would see an African, you've got loads of African mates, MP is your friend, you've been in Africa. When you look at an African person, right, do you think this portrayal actually affects them? In your view, when you look at them, do you think, okay, this African person here in Europe, because of the portrayal of what people see, it affects him and how people treat him because of that? Do you think that happens?
Yeah, for me, I think it's really important for me as a white person anyway, speaking about this stuff, it's really important for me to be honest using the white person lens as to how other people may be portraying African people, right? And it's the reason I'm interested in this stuff. So growing up, I could have, obviously I can't remember what my younger self would have been like, but I have no doubt in my mind, I would have been looking kind of going, how is there now a black person in my area? Or how is there, where are they coming from? Because me growing up, the only thing I've ever really learned about black people is, obviously the charity appeal ads, right? So
pay for a black baby.
Here, pay for the black baby. Here's the Troker box at Christmas time. Put a few euro in there, and we're going to save the black child, right? So now all of a sudden, there's a black child in my class. Have I saved him? How did he end up here? That kind of confusion for a kid growing up, right? so that manifests itself later on as you grow up, right? So you start to think, kind of going, Like, how are these people arriving here, you know? And when you're trying to understand about like racist comments and where they stem from, it's like in Irish context anyway, like from my understanding, it's coming from like a lack of education, obviously, a lack of awareness, but also like a lack of intervention from like the government, from schools, from anywhere to kind of go, right, this is what's happening. Migration is a thing. The same way Irish people can move to Australia, to America, whatever. African people can also come here and move here and integrate into society, and they should be allowed to. We should be able to respect them, their cultures, their traditions, and we should also learn about Africa from that point of view, not just from colonization. Well, to be honest with you, we don't even learn about colonization. We really don't, even in school. It was only afterwards, when I was in college, I started to truly understand the effects of, you know, capitalism, or how Africa, even though they were colonized and then they gained their independence, how they were basically colonized again, because they're stuck with so much debt that creates this poverty narrative, because you just have to keep asking for money, you know, or your countries are allowing that to happen. So like, from my point of view, is when I'm looking at an African person now, obviously I can look at it differently because I've educated myself and I have a diverse set of friends. And I also have a great friend in Paso who, when I have a curious question, I can ask him honestly, and he knows it's in a respectful way because it's curiosity, and I'm trying to learn to understand, so that if somebody asks me a question, I can then explain to them and kind of pass it that way. Obviously, like that's great because, you know, I can affect change that way, but it needs to happen in a bigger scale, so that if, like we're talking about now, right? You guys have moved here, you are adults. I don't know whether you have kids or not, but if you will have kids, or you know people that have kids that are black, that are growing up in an Irish context, they're going to be dealing with all this stuff. They're going to be dealing with curious white kids kind of wondering, like, where are you coming from? Like, where, like, even though they're going to be Irish, like the second generation is going to be Irish with an African heritage, but now it's going to be the question mark over, but, you know, where have you come from? The stereotypical, where are you from? I'm from Dundalk. You can't be.
Yeah,
you look like you're from Africa.
Yeah, people are like, you're not from Dundalk. Yeah.
But there's a sensitivity around it as well, you know. So it's a mix of two things. Like, obviously, there's pure ignorance coming from like people, but most of the time, I would say it's just lack of understanding. People are afraid to say anything in fear of offending, so they say nothing, or then they just try to make sarcastic comments to try to get around the conversation, which isn't helpful for anybody. You know?
That's, look, it is very nice and very amazing to hear something like that coming from you, and most especially because of a white person, there's many people like you. It's not only that it's you. There's many people like you who are interested to learn and to understand, and they know the difference of how everything is working. The people who've gone to Africa, they've never gone to Africa, and yet they'll know about it. I've met people that they've never stepped a foot in Africa, and I mentioned my country, Malawi, which most of the time you tell people where you're from, Malawi, they're like, that's in Africa, right? And I'll be like, well, like, what are the chances it's going to be in Europe? You know what I mean? you know what I mean? Like, Malawi. Yeah, you know, one time from Malawi. You know, it's really amazing because, as you say as well yourself, it's all about the education. Like, I was pissed around when people say, "Oh, you from," like, they'll come to you and they say, "Oh, I have a friend, John Obi. He's from Nigeria. Do you know him?" And I piss around with people. I say, "Oh yeah, John Obi. So the lad, he's up the road, isn't he?" And I don't think I'm serious. "Oh, so you know him?" I be like, "Yeah, I do. You know, just to see." But in all countries, I'm trying to just make a fool out of them. Like, it's like me walking out to you, Owen, and say, "Geez, Owen, do you know Martin O'Connor there for up the road?" And you used to be like, "Oh yeah, I do." You know what I mean? and then they all think Africa is just one country. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, Europe. You know, but it's great that you came out about it in that kind of way. The same question, really quick to you, Fred. As we said, does this portrayal affect how we are viewed or treated?
The answer is yes. Pretty much the guys have actually said most of the stuff already. That's obvious, which is obvious out there, you know what I mean? So just to say it briefly, as in, yes, it is, because, you know, once people wants to see your skin color, all they see is just poor, you know what I mean? And then when you actually have money, they probably think like you probably stole it or something. It's just something in the back of the mind, you know what I mean? They've never seen a rich there's no such thing as a rich African guy. If you do, it's either drugs or something illegal. But just to put it out there, there are actually wealthy Africans out there, which for some reason that actually never be put on TV, or they actually are, but not as much as they do with the other races. You know what I mean? So, as in after coming here in Ireland as well, you know, I mean, first thing people ask me, where you from? I'm like, where I'm from? Malawi. Oh, your accent's really good. Like they just think my accent, African people's accent, is horrible. You know what I mean?
Where did you learn English?
Where did you learn English?
So they ask you, how long have you learned English? They probably think. They probably think I came here to learn English. Like, no, I've known English since I was a child. I mean, from primary growing up, it's English everywhere. So they're actually surprised. Really? So Africa is poor and you're able to learn that? You know what I mean? So it's something that's been portrayed on TV and everything. Yeah. So I think if the system starts changing what they're showing on TV and actually show also people actually get doing better in Africa as well, things will actually change. But that's a topic for another time. Anyway, I'll let you go on, Oviedo.
Well, fair enough. I think we've covered most of that. As we say, this is a big, massive topic. There's so much ins and out. We can go deep and deep and deep. And obviously, because of our time, we would have to move on. But what would say, you people, whatever you think on top of what we've said, you could add it onto the comments. You know, tell us what your thoughts and what you think and how we are portrayed, how you think we are portrayed if you are not from Africa. If you're African, how you think you are treated or viewed. This next one is basically with
2 seconds before you go on. Just speaking of the comments, we got Keita K here saying loving the merch. So guys, if you could quickly demonstrate your merch.
I think Owen needs to get one. What do you think, guys? Owen needs to get one.
Owen needs to get one, man.
No, I'm gonna get one.
Quick.
We'll leave that to you. We'll leave that to you, MP. You sort that one out.
All right, I'll organize it.
Quick spiel on the merch, guys. For the guys that are watching, if you fancy the merch, we've got a link in the description under our socials. It should say 5Roundz merch once you click the link. All right, you can find all the merch in there. We've got t-shirts, hats, as you can see. We've got other accessories like face masks and women's tank tops, everything. Just go and have a look, guys. All right, and thank you for the support, Keita K. Thank you.
Appreciate that. We're gonna move to this one. Owen, you're going to love this. And we want you to be the first one to paint it. When you paint the picture to the viewers, paint it to us what you think. I'm going to add in a little bit about it. What does Africa really look like? Because you've been in Africa. You are a person that hasn't seen Africa on Google, on television. You've seen it on television. You've seen it on Google, on social media. But you have actually stepped a foot on the land, the motherland of Africa yourself, you know, and you know what it looks like. So can you paint the picture? Tell us what does Africa really look like? What is it to you?
What does Mama Africa look like? What a big question. What a big question. It's a really good question, right? And it's something that I'm going to answer, but also going to pass. And the reason being is I find that, so first of all, Africa, like, look, Africa is a beautiful place. I have had some incredible experiences living in Zambia. I had the pleasure to visit Malawi, down in South Malawi, and I've also had the pleasure of being to Kenya. So I've gotten really nice insights into what Africa looks like, and I just find that when asked to describe Africa, something that I was very conscious of when I went over there to Zambia in 2019 and 2020, that's when I was living there, was when I came home, was I didn't want to come home and do the standard white person who goes and volunteers in Africa and says how beautiful it is and how, oh my God, everyone, you need to go visit it, and you know, oh, these people are so happy, and you know, all that crap. I just no, not doing any of that. And the reason being is I think it's so important that, you know, we recognize that if we're asking a white person to describe somebody else's country where it's predominantly black, I just think that it's wrong that I come back and share, not that I don't share my experiences, of course I can do that, but I also think that we need to check ourselves. And when I say we, I say that for any white person going to volunteer in Africa, for whatever your intentions are, that you be very conscious that if you're taking photographs, if you're taking videos, whatever it is, that you be very respectful and you think about when you're coming home, that you don't just take a photo
we lost
of the mud hut and come home and just hand the picture to someone so they can go, oh, that's terrible, you know? Make sure that if you're showing the mud hut or whatever it is, explain that it's a family inside there. They're human beings. They were incredibly grateful for you being there. They brought you into their home. They cooked your food. They spoke local language with you. They gave you a titenga or whatever it may be. And explain that. Sorry, I'm speaking in Nanja. Sorry, it's good.
Nyanja. That's it's really good on.
No, we speak
really good.
We understand both.
And what's a chitenge?
In English,
It's what it is, a piece of cloth. It's a traditional piece of cloth that women will usually wrap around their waists to basically cover their legs, and it will be used. And they actually wear them all the time, whether it's in the field when it's farming or when or if it's an occasion, a special event, they'll wear them. So you can get different patterns and stuff. I should have actually worn one. I have plenty. I also have an African. You know what? I also have an African shirt. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to turn my camera off in a second. I'm going to put on an African shirt, considering I haven't got my 5 rounds. That's what I'm going to do now in a second.
Bravo. All right.
So while I pass the torch, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm gonna you can do as you heard it there from Owen. He's explaining what Africa is all about, not only about the mud huts that you see. There's someone who's living in there, and these people are happy, their families, they're enjoying. Not only is that part, the main point I want to add on is you people, as everybody else who's never been to Africa, who's not African, they see Africa that is a child who's sitting right there with a fly in their eyes and their pot belly pumped up like they've been chewing air the whole day and crying. Now, I just want, I always try to put this perspective to people. If I was so poor and a fly landed in my eye, I'm surely would have that energy to go, get out, fly. You know what I mean? But most of the pictures you see is that child, and that child is sitting like that with a fly in their eye. You tell me. You know what I mean? I just want to put this to people because those pictures are used for advertisement. That is edited stuff because I know for a fact there's no way a fly would land into your eye and you still be like that. Not a hope. He's back.
The way that
look at that.
looking good.
Look at the stride.
Good, man.
So what I want to say, guys, is Africa, we have
like merch.
We don't disagree that there's poverty. Yes, there's people struggling, there's people having poverty, but they've never showed you the beauty of Africa. Like you can enjoy a pint in a pub here, you can enjoy a cocktail in a pub, so you can in Africa. You can go to
a nightclub.
Yeah, you can go to a nightclub that is 20 times better than the biggest nightclub that you can ever think in Dublin, and you're gonna enjoy. Because people don't understand that Africa also have that type of life. There's people that have got houses 3 times the sizes the houses you find in southern part of Dublin.
Can I just add on that?
Yeah.
We have a watchman, we have a garden boy, we have a nun, we have,
we
all
have
these
butlers.
people. We employ all these people in our household, in our premises, and we pay for them. And they feed their families as well.
They never see that part of Africa. If you go to Africa, you can have the great time that you can also have in Europe. You can go in Spain and have a holiday by the beach. You can do that in Africa at even a lesser cost, at a cheaper cost, and you're going to have better enjoyment too. Don't forget, we have those people, yes, who are living in poverty, but it's not the whole of Africa because it's really bad when you're here and some people could ask you to say, oh, are there lions in the street? No, there's no lions in the street. We can go see them in the zoo. You know what I mean? It's not that we go on a giraffe. We don't do that. But anyway, that's my painting, just to let you people know that Africa is not all you see of badness. Now, going on to the last and the most important question of all this topic we're having there, to wrap it up and cover it up in a short form, everybody in how they think. What do you think would need to be done to change the perception of
Perception.
what
Perception.
perception and the narrative, the perception and the narrative to the world has on Africa. The way they think about us. How can we change that kind of thought towards people, thinking that this is how Africa is? How can we change the whole world to understand that it doesn't work that way? What's the system that could be used? What could you do if it was you?
I'm gonna go first.
All
right. Before everybody else says everything that I want to say, you know what I mean? So I want to go.
Look at this guy. He's trying to take over everything before this.
I'll go last. It's cool.
Just to keep it brief, because I know there's a lot we can do as issue. And first of all, it starts by this podcast we're doing. This is basically how you start changing people's thinking, by us talking about it and having Owen, which is from who's obviously Irish and everything, to speak about these things and being able to talk to people, and people can watch and listen, instead of just going, you go to Google, just believe whatever you see on TV and stuff. So it starts by watching our podcast, 5Roundz. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. We have listen in your
commercial
cars.
break.
You know break. What I mean? Just to add in there, but please don't forget to subscribe and share as well. So start by teaching these type of things in our circles as well. So people go, when a lot of people are afraid to ask questions. They think like, oh, this person's probably going to be offended, from what I think most times. So bring it up to them. Come to Africa. There's nice places. Show them nice places as well. Don't show them all these bad places. Show them you can go to the lake. There's nice beaches, hotels and stuff. No, you show them the nice places so people start to understand what Africa is. It's not only about killing each other or child soldiers and stuff. It also has the beauty. To have 5 kids in some house is so expensive, but in Africa you can have 12 and still be able to feed them, all of them. Growing up and leaving their house like 30 years old. So teach them on how it is on our personal experience as well. So not to take too much of time, I'm just going to pass it on.
Yeah.
So that's me then.
Who's gonna hit it next? Patrick, do you want to take it over? What do you think?
Yeah.
We can change the narrative.
How can we change the narrative?
Look, it all falls to one thing, and it's also something I used to think is a waste of time. It all comes to education. When somebody, like what Owen said, by going to Africa, he decided to educate himself. He said he never wanted to go. He wanted to go and experience how it is, the proper Africa, not just go there and stay in 5-star hotels. You wanted to see everything, So that's somebody educating themselves. So it is education that's needed. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends have told me that unlike us in Africa, where we are taught about colonization, we are taught about World War II, we're taught about Hitler and them guys. Here, they don't really concentrate about Mandela and them. They don't put so much effort on the guys that did it, or the guys that fought for freedom. None of that, I think, is taught majority. Because one guy actually was saying he wanted to come on this podcast. He told me the same thing. He's like, Patrick, I never learned about all these people. I only saw them on TV. He said he had to go and educate himself about Gaddafi, by the way. He said he thought Gaddafi was just a villain via TV. And that's the narrative. He's destroying Africa. That's what was being painted. Gaddafi is destroying Africa. Gaddafi is an evil man. We should get him. Wow. So he said it took his own education and research, and he found out that, Gaddafi was saying Africa has to be united. There has to be one currency. So it's all about education. Yeah. And I think all this education has to come from one place. Social media. Everybody loves social media. The more these movies come out with always portraying the African as the bad guy, like Blood Diamond, where they're portraying that guy as he's not that intelligent. That's what they're trying to portray him. I like the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio's character at first was trying to trick him, saying, I'll give you this, you give me the diamond. Those portrayals. And now when people watch that movie, they'll come to me and say, Patrick, you give me your Jordans, I'll give you my pennies, my shoes from Primark. Those are the things that's what sort of happening in that movie. So it has to start with education, social media. And maybe with the social media starts portraying Africa in a certain way, it will change the narrative. But also, people themselves have to think and say, what I'm looking at is not 100% Let me go deeper and do research. Let me just go to Uncle Google and ask him that, oh, how is Africa? And then when I saw the first picture, I'm like, wow, that's Africa. Stay on that page, start flipping around. Set the cities. Say what are the nice sites, what are the holidays. So it all comes down to education for me. That's all I can say. That's how the narrative is going to change. And also, it's going to change the mentalities of people and open them up. The kids of these days will change. That's all I can say. I'm going to leave some of the good stuff and juicy stuff for the other guys.
Let's leave that one juicy stuff to you there, Owen. A quick one. What do you think can change it all?
The juicy stuff. Wow.
Yeah, the narrative.
How long have we got? Now my 2 pence on this on the question is really speaking directly to anybody that is considering, going to Africa on these volunteer experiences or whatever. You should not be going to Africa to go to anywhere really, unless you've really done your research as to why. First of all, fundamentally know why you're going. So, like, for example, I went there knowing that the purpose of me going there was not to help anyone. Of course, if I could transfer skills or talk to people, great. But it was to experience and to see for myself what's the true depiction of Africa, The second of all is you can't possibly go to Africa unless you understand what colonization is. Because I genuinely don't think a lot of people understand how Africa ended up the way they did in the first place. That the reason we have charity appeal ads is it's actually our fault on this side. That's the reason. So if you're going to go for an experience to see Africa, like I can't stop people doing that. But all I would say to people, if you're going to go do that, just make sure that you've either talked to somebody. There's plenty of people from African heritage in Ireland nowadays. Reach out to someone. Actually just talk to someone. You may realize, yeah, exactly. The 5 rounds. Listen to the guys. Listen to the guys.
Don't go too far. 5 rounds.
That's why I'm here. I'm here not to actually voice what I want to say, because again, this is the problem with the development industry. There's too many white people speaking and not listening to enough black voices. If you're going to help black people, or if you think they need help, let them say it. Let them run the show. Let them decide
show
what
you
they
what
need.
they want, what they
Exactly.
need to be helped.
And if you don't want to give them the funding, then pull out of Africa.
Nice one.
Oh wow!
We like that. We like the swag. We like that African swag. It's really nice. That you had put
Paul, there's an issue there. There's a comment there. You want to bring it up?
Yeah, look. I'll let one tally there throw in a bit of comments there before I ask a final question before we wrap it up. And this question is going to go to one tally. And I know a lot of people would sit here and also think about a question. Fire up the comments first before I ask you the question anyway.
Okay, so Keita K said the NGO businesses wouldn't want that because no one would donate money to their never-ending cause. That's true. They are also
true. They will show us the good sides.
So
making that money.
Joss said, sorry, I'm late. Welcome, Joss. She said, Africa is the motherland for a reason. Don't ever listen to the media. They will lie for money. Go to Africa and see it yourself. Joss, do you want to tell everybody where you're from, Joss?
Please.
Yeah. So, very good comments. Thank you, guys. Back to you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, all you guys who are out there on the comments. Before we wrap it up, anyway, as we usually do, I'm gonna ask this final question, and I know this question will be buzzing a lot of people's heads because we can sit here and talk about, okay, Africa is great, it's bad, it's got bad parts, it's got great parts that we never show. They only show the bad places. Yeah. But this is the question that I know a lot of people would run in their mind. I would even run in my mind if I was a person that is not from Africa, and I want you to take this one. If Africa is as great as we're painting it here, we're saying it's great, there's nice places, there's this, then why are you not in Africa?
Well, this is a big question. This is a big question, but all the answers that we've provided pretty much they pretty much contribute to this reason, when I gave that example of how Africa are economically at the bottom of the food chain, that puts us at a disadvantage straight away, right? When Owen mentioned that it's up to the governments to change this narrative, or to sort of even control the situation, to stop the corruption, to stop all these things. That's another problem that Africa has. All these things hinder progression of individuals and nations, right? everybody leaves their country for a reason, for a certain reason. My reason was to better myself academically, better myself as a person, so I can see how I can apply myself back in Africa. So yeah, that's the reason. Yeah. That's the reason that most Africans probably come, because the education systems are not as great as they are, outside of Africa. And saying that, I'm not saying that Africa does not have good education systems in certain countries. Of course they do. But can we afford it? Who knows? Can we afford it? No. So getting an internationally recognized qualification and applying that skill you have learned in one country, in your own country, I think, for me, it's a good reason to do that.
Yeah, just to add in there what Tali said, it's mostly because of the corrupt governments, and what I'm reading over here, Joe's as well says, it's most of corrupt governments and healthcare, which is actually very true. As in, speaking of the government, when these NGOs come in, obviously they take a bit of the money and they'll keep on doing the same, and that money is for the country to grow. And most of them is just pocketed, So it's not invested into schools. It's not invested into creating more jobs. So that's one of the problems as well. There's not enough jobs that pay well, first of all. So that's why a simple job that you can actually get here, like, for example, washing dishes here in Europe, can pay the same wages as a person who's an accountant in Africa. You see the difference there, which is crazy. You can be a waiter here and earn more than a guy who's actually in an office in Africa, which is very sad. So if the government would start fixing those type of things, create more jobs and pay wages that actually a person can live on, first of all, not a lot of people will be going abroad. You know what I mean? So you can have a PhD in Africa, but still earn the same as someone who hasn't finished school in Europe, which is the saddest part about it.
Being a teacher.
So those type of things, if they fix that, that's okay. Let me just go back to the question. That's partly the reason why a lot of people fly out. Like, okay, I have this PhD, nothing's working out for me. Why not just go make some bucks there? And it's the same people that have PhDs be asking for money for someone who only has a certificate and is working as a freaking mind my language as a kitchen porter, and you're sending them money, a PhD guy in Africa, which is very sad.
Very sad, yeah.
And it's partly that. So I'm just gonna
that's true. Now that's clear enough. I think, like, there wouldn't be much to say, but that's the main reason. It's it's as people say, looking for a greener pasture and all that, because you're gonna. It's, as you said, Randall, real quick. You said, like, education system. It's not that there's no education, but the education is very expensive in a way that it's hard for you to work and pay for education. Well, it's possible to do that in Europe. You can work a part-time job and pay for good quality education, but the same price to pay the same education in your country, you can't be working part-time.
You have to work your ass off,
which is just different.
Jobs.
But anyway, before we close it up, Wantali, you've got something else to say there before I wrap it?
I'm just going to read the comments and then I'll come back to what I was going to say. In fact, I've seen something that ties into. So obviously, Josh said it was because of the corrupted governments and the healthcare, so people are seeking a better life. Also, Josh again said, in order for democracy to survive, they need to suppress the strongest group. Ooh, strong.
She's coming with good words, isn't she?
Coming with fire. She's coming.
Oh my goodness, the comments keep flying. We're trying to close this thing, guys.
She's making sure that she gets everything in.
Josh says, remember, unity bonds people. They have divided Africa for a reason. Religion is another factor which controls people's minds. I agree with that as well.
I agree.
That was, disturbing the identity of it.
And then we got Fadson. Welcome, Fadson, from the Fashion Podcast. They're showing some love. Good. Much love for that. Say what it do, what it does. Okay, and then we go Keita K, who says neo-colonialism exists. That's how Europe. Yeah, that's how Europe are able to take all, because like diamonds, gold, and oil, Africans don't make money from that. And then Josh says, woman with wisdom. And then we got Keita K saying, look, African countries still pay debt African countries still pay debt to European countries because of the
France,
colonialism.
Colonialism. Wow.
Which is very sad.
Can I say one word? I just remembered something by those comments. I don't know. Did you guys listen to Boris Johnson? What he said weeks ago? He said Africa were better off when they were colonized. Africa should ask us to come back if they want to. That's what he said. He says Africa should ask the colonizers to come back if you want to do better. That's what he said. He said we were better off colonized.
I think I remember you mentioned that in the Euro 2021 as well.
That's what he said.
Unreal.
Anyway, that's how it shows how lack of knowledge we're talking about. You know what I mean? She's very sad coming from a prime minister as well.
Sure. Educate yourself.
Back to what I was going to say. When Josh said, "Remember, unity bonds people." You know, guys. Let's not forget that about 11 years ago, the FIFA World Cup was hosted in South Africa, right? One of the biggest songs to ever come out of that tournament was Waka Waka, right? Zamina Mina Zangarewa. You know, that song itself united the world, not just Africa, but the world. You know what I mean? That's just one tournament. You know, one tournament, one song brought so much unity, and yet we still have these pictures of Africa is this, Africa is that. How many colorful outfits did you see in at the World Cup when Africa was allowed to express itself? You know,
the stadiums.
How many stadiums did you see? How many different cultures? People now know what a vuvuzela is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, guys,
bust your ears.
Come on, man. Explore Africa. That's what I was gonna say. It's time to explore Africa.
Jerusalem also united a lot of people. Police were dancing Jerusalem down.
That's a song from South Africa. You know what I mean? I was listening to that song before it started trending because I like to listen to my piano tunes, and I was listening to that tune before it started trending, and then I see it's trending. Guards are even dancing to it. I said, "What?"
And recently, like Owen said, Jerusalem, you know, that's another song that's united the world.
Yeah.
Where's that song come from? Africa, you know,
South Africa.
You know, all these things that we've been talking about for the past hour. Oh yeah, you think Africa's poor, but yet we have songs like Jerusalem. You know, things.
Master KG.
Exactly.
They still have a good music quality and all that stuff. You know.
But in all everything, as we've had these great episodes again at 5Roundz talking about Africa on the television and of course and how it is on reality. We've had a fantastic points from people on the commenting. Thanks very much. I appreciate for you jumping in and talking to us and telling us your points and what you think. We appreciate mostly as well yourself, Owen, for taking your time to join us on 5Roundz and to also put it out there to fellow Europeans that I've never visited Africa, or what maybe some people there who still see Africa a different way, but you have seen it firsthand and you know it, in different ways than others would, which is very fantastic. You actually came. We appreciate your time, and it was really great to have you all, and all you guys as well. Thank you very much, for coming back as we always do with 5Roundz.
Well, good 5Roundz.
Most important thing before I close it up, look, make sure you smash a like, share this video to other people so people can know what Africa is. Some people that have got a different perspective of Africa. And of course, subscribe. Get your friend to subscribe. And as well, merchy. It's out there. The merchy is out there.
Merch there.
The merchy is out there. We've got fantastic stuff. If you could, the link is on the bio. It's gonna be below on the bio. And if you go to 5Roundz, you're gonna there's so many things here, but there's hoodies, there's fantastic things. Like this is my special one. You can buy it, what it does at the back, but there's great stuff. There's great stuff. And we want to thank you, all the guys as well, who've been purchasing the merch. We've got really great response from people ever since we launched it last week, and we love that. We want you to get other people to keep on buying this, send it to your people, and mostly as well, we want to tell you and remember tomorrow we're always out there live on Instagram with so many questions, and obviously it's gonna be me and my boy down there, Wantali, who's gonna be hosting you, and we're gonna start at 7 p.m. tomorrow, which is GMT and African time, which is 8 p.m. Usually we used to do it 8, but we put it back to 7 so that people have got more time. when you're out there sipping on your wine, enjoying your whiskey. So you can tune on to 5Roundz and enjoy the conversation. Stay in the comments and make sure, give us your lousy comments. You know, what you think, what we're going to talk about. You know what I mean? And we close it up. What's the name of this podcast, guys?
5Roundz.
What it do, what it does. Have a good night.